Before we get into some of the actual earnings themselves, I am curious about that cash pile. We know that they've been very vocal about this idea that they just haven't found a lot of things attractive. Things are either too expensive or they just feel like on a valuation basis it's not the right time. When do you think, Gregory, it will be the right time to really trying to deploy a big chunk of that $157 billion?
Well, I think that's one of the things you got to give Berkshire credit for historically is they've generally stayed very, very disciplined when it comes to doing deals or making stock investments. So I wasn't surprised. I mean, this cash balance is going above $150 billion was something Warren, at the 2017 meeting said he wouldn't be able to defend to shareholders. But I think situations have changed a lot in those 6 years. Interest rates, short-term interest rates right now are above 5%. So they're earning a pretty good return on that cash balance right now, which they would not have been returning back in 2017. Rates were close to zero at that point. And, as far as deals going forward, I wouldn't be expecting too much unless we get a significant downturn in the markets or they find something incredible that they can step into. Well, I mean, last year's deal with Allegheny was sort of a once in a lifetime piece of business that came their way, and I think it was a huge, perfect fit for the firm.
Yeah, I mean, what was that, like a $12 billion deal? And then, of course, whatever the heck has been going on with Occidental Petroleum and them building up that stake. I am curious, though, if this isn't about deal making, at least in the short term, then that means there has to be a focus on their operating units, whether you're talking about insurance companies like Geico or some of the consumer-facing brands like Dairy Queen and See's. How are those operational units performing, particularly in light of the fact that we're not seeing big deals being made?
Yeah, it was kind of a mixed bag during the quarter. I mean, the insurance business was incredibly profitable overall, and a lot of that was Geico has returned to operating profitability the past 3 quarters, having gone through a really, really difficult period the prior few years. And a lot of that was coming out of the pandemic. All the auto insurers have really struggled because the cost of vehicle replacement, the cost of parts, the cost of health costs have gone up significantly. And it's only this year we started to see pricing go up significantly enough to where these firms are starting to turn a profit again. So that was a good bit of positive news. And then within the the P&C insurance reinsurance business, price hardening's been taking hold for a good year and a half now, and we've really seen an uptick in underwriting profitability for all the participants. Now, Berkshire in particular benefited because Allegheny, or the purchase of Allegheny last year, meant that they were pushing 25% plus earned premium growth year over year, and throw on top of that a lot more profitability within that business. And I think it was the reinsurance group hit a record level profitability overall. I look back 20 years and I couldn't see anything even close to what they put in. And the primary group is really doing a good job as well.
And in the last minute or so we have left with you, I want to go back to the cash pile and the fact that there aren't really any attractive deals right now. Of course, we think about Warren Buffett, we think about Charlie Munger, the fact that they won't be with Berkshire forever. When it comes to this idea that maybe they want to do one last big one while still with Berkshire Hathaway, do you think that pressure is real?
I think there's probably more of a hesitant on their part to do anything really big, because again, it would be the last thing that they were remembered for. And the risk there is making a bad move and have all of your history sort of tarnished a bit because they did one big deal. That said, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a big deal come down the pike, but I think it adds a certain level of additional discipline and caution when they're out there looking at deals, because they want to make sure if they're going to do that deal, and that's the last one they'll be remembered for, it's got to be really special, and it's got to really generate the kind of returns that they're expecting from that business.